RKO. You didn't know? Obviously you didn't. But I'm here to tell you what happened the last time we were here. Kayvana trying to get me to sing. And as you notice, there's no one in this chair. That's because I chokeslammed him straight to hell. So now I'm going to be the one doing the RKO You Didn't Know podcast. So without further review, let's get to WrestleMania Rewind. Because Russell rocks. Russell rocks. What? Russell rocks. Russell rocks. Russell rocks.
Welcome to your worst nightmare. You thought I was gone, but I'm back. And we're doing this podcast together.
Because RKO rocks. RKO rocks.
This is our WrestleMania 32 review. Now we're going to do an in-depth analysis on WrestleMania 32 via an audio podcast pretty soon. We wanted to reintroduce ourselves since it's been such a long time since we've done a podcast. And so we wanted to do a kind of quick video podcast and talk about our thoughts about WWE's WrestleMania 32. Russell,
Kayvon.
welcome.
Thanks again. And we welcome you guys back because it's been so long since we've heard from you, talked to you, and talked anything wrestling. And a lot has changed because it is a new day and an old day to come back to with Shane O'Mac, Vince McMahon, the Authority, and everything that you can think of, from the Hell in a Cell to a new World Wrestling Women's Champion. And we'll be getting back to that here in a couple minutes. And like Kayvon was saying, we're going to have a great audio of all the things WrestleMania that we want to talk about.
We'll go match by match, talk about our thoughts about the show and per each match. Russell, real quick, let me ask you, if you had to pick your favorite match and or moment from WrestleMania 32, what would you pick?
Well, there's a lot, I mean, we've got AJ Styles, we had the New Day, we had, Charlotte, debuting the, like I said, the women's champion, which is great because I was tired of the whole Divas champion. We had Triple H defending at WrestleMania as a champion, a new reign of terror with Roman Reigns. So, if I had to pick something, I say I was quite frankly enjoying the wrestling aspect of it. We had a lot of good wrestling, with Jericho, AJ Styles, the women's division. But if I had to pick the one moment that I went, oh my gosh, it had to be Hell in a Cell. Shane O'Mac, 20 feet up in the air, coming down, putting it all on the line, not only for his match, but for the company, for his legacy. I think I even seen a tear in The Undertaker's eye when that match was ending. So I think that was my match of the night, was the Hell in a Cell.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but and you can check out our predictions on Facebook on our RKO You Didn't Know page. We both picked Shane McMahon to win that match. We both predicted that. He didn't, The Undertaker. Now, one would say, why would you pick Shane McMahon to win that match? And for me, I can say that I picked Shane McMahon to win that match because I really thought the Raw after WrestleMania, we were going to see a new era in WWE. I thought Shane was going to take over Raw, and I thought we were going to see a brand split, and maybe Stephanie McMahon or the Authority run SmackDown.
And it could happen, because...
It could still happen because Vince actually gave power, at least for one night, to Shane McMahon the night after WrestleMania on Raw. So the moment when Shane McMahon climbs, and talk about for a second, you saw him, and everyone who's watching, as he was laying below the cell where the announce table area is, outside the cell, after they had broken the door and battled outside the cell, he was looking up. And you knew in that moment
I did.
he was going to what?
I was sitting there watching it, with a buddy of ours, Sean the Girth, as we like to call him, and we were sitting at his house, and we was looking at each other, and we were like, we're the same age as Shane, and to take that big of a bump at his age says a lot. I mean, the wrestling community, the guys back in the locker room, the whole organization has so much respect for Shane. And for him to do that, like I said, he didn't have to do it, but I think he was there to prove not only to Vince McMahon, but it was kind of a passing the torch to let his sons see their dad go out there and put on a WrestleMania moment.
Let me ask you 2 questions about that real quick. Our good friend Megan pointed out that it looked like Shane McMahon was very conscious about pulling down his shirt the entire time through the match, and so we kind of thought that maybe he was padded underneath with some sort of protection for when he took the bump off the cell. Do you think that was the case, and or do you think there maybe was some cushioning underneath the announce table for when he fell from that distance from the cell?
He hit it solid, and I would say that...
Did it look like to you there was any cushioning coming out? Because there was, it looked like there was something...
It did, but I mean,
with
still,
a black
you're still
covering underneath
20
the cell.
feet up in the air. I mean, how much cushion can you go? Those spots, they plan them over and over again. Of course, if you go back to the original Hell in a Cell with Mick Foley and The Undertaker, Mick Foley went over the edge, and the way he landed, it looked even more dangerous. Shane basically went himself. He's the one that took the big elbow off. So he was more prepared than what, Mankind or Mick Foley was at the time. But I would say this, no matter what, it was a heck of a match. I mean, The Undertaker...
It was a 30-minute match.
Right.
It was long.
He, you could tell he got choked up. You guys go back and look, The Undertaker was choked up. You had seen tears in his eyes because this is a guy that he's known for years. I mean, Shane was a referee a long time ago and so forth. And to know that this guy put on this display, and he's not even a wrestler,
full-time wrestler.
Right. He's got millions of dollars. He don't even have to do this, but he does. And that's what I'm saying. It's a tribute to him and to his family. And I think the reason that they pulled out the stops is because of the long list of roster spots that were in injury right now. But, Cena was hurt. We didn't think he would wrestle. The Rock wasn't wrestling. And here they came out. That was a good moment. I think WrestleMania altogether, with what they had to work with, was an overall good show.
I agree with you. I enjoyed WrestleMania. Of course, we can always sit there and nitpick and think about things we would do different and be an armchair booker and think about, we'd do a different outcome on this match or whatever the case may be. I have to tell you that my favorite moments... I loved when, after the New Day versus the League of Nations match, Mick Foley, Stone Cold, and Shawn Michaels, the Legends, came out and took out the League of Nations post-match. I also loved Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental Championship because it was unexpected. I really thought it was going to be Sami Zayn. That's who I picked. And also, I loved the women's match. I would say it was, without question, in my opinion, the best women's wrestling match we've seen at WrestleMania ever, and probably one of the best women's matches we've seen in WWE. I really wanted Sasha to have that moment. She's my favorite women's wrestler. I wanted her to... I could picture in my head. I could picture her celebrating with the title, the tears streaming down her face, because I know how much that means to her. And, it means a lot to Charlotte, too, because she has a brother who was unable to fulfill his
wrestling
legacy,
dream, yeah.
Who was training to be a wrestler. And I've heard interviews, of course, where she's talked about she does this for her brother.
Right.
And so I think Charlotte's a very good wrestler. And I think Becky really showed a lot in that match because, as I remember, she had most of the offense in that match. She was involved most in that match. Becky is like the one I remember wrestling the most in that match. I thought it was a great match. So, yes, considering the fact that no person who walked out as a champion out of last year's WrestleMania was there this year.
Right.
Cena was there. He walked out United States champion last year, but of course he was a surprise and not in a formal match or anything like that. He wasn't even in a match. Rock was, but he was just there and did his appearance, which was cool. Considering what they had to work with, what would I have liked to see? Well, I'll tell you this. I just want to say this. On the Friday night of WrestleMania weekend, NXT TakeOver Dallas was, in my opinion, the best thing I saw WrestleMania weekend. To me, it was better than WrestleMania. Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura was the best match maybe I've seen so far this year, and certainly the best match I've seen that weekend. But WrestleMania, I think, was solid and long. Man, was it long. We watched the pre-show for 2 hours. We watched a near 5-hour WrestleMania. I don't know. I don't know how that works with pay-per-view. I think they were slated to go till 11:30, but I was telling you that I think it went past 11:30. I mean, that I was looking, it was like 11 o'clock, and I didn't know that they were slated to go to 11:30 on pay-per-view. I'm like, Rock's still out there, and it's 11 o'clock, and they still got the main event.
Right.
Speaking of the main event, I love Triple H. He's my favorite male wrestler. The energy was just not there in that match. I certainly don't think it was Triple H's best performance. The thing I remember most about that match is actually Stephanie McMahon. I think she was the star of that match, from the entrance to getting speared in that match and being there at ringside. Honestly, she was the best part of that match, I thought. What did you feel about the energy? Was that a WrestleMania quality match? Was it worthy of being the main event of WrestleMania 32? The biggest crowd
No,
at
it
any
wasn't.
WrestleMania.
It wasn't. Like I said, you come off the Hell in a Cell with Shane O'Mac and The Undertaker. You had that big spot, and then then you had The Rock come out and John Cena come out. That was, to me, like the ending of the show. I mean, if that would have ended,
It felt like the climax, right?
We would have been fine with that. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, a lot of people injured. I just think they had to go with what they had. And, of course, Vince McMahon loves Roman Reigns. He wants this guy to get over so well. And, I think that the best thing they could do, get him a Paul Heyman, turn him heel.
He'd be so
put
much
him,
better if
put
he
him with a
didn't talk,
corporation.
right?
Yeah, I mean, make him Triple H's guy, and then go from there, because he, maybe later on, to me, he hasn't earned his stripes, and I know they like
He's a three-time WWE champion,
right? But I just feel like he's being rushed. His time is definitely not now.
Well, let me say about that. I think going into WrestleMania, I mean, I don't know how far they plan this, but we knew he was going to get booed basically out of the building at WrestleMania, because at WrestleMania, that is people coming from everywhere around the planet to be at WrestleMania. Hardcore fans spend lots of money to travel there, be there. So they're going to voice their opinion. And to me, I think Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania kind of said that they're maybe easing up on the idea that Roman's going to be just a black and white face, meaning he is going to be the guy,
right,
the good guy. He said the line, "I'm not a good guy, I'm not a bad guy.
I'm the guy."
So that tells me that they're going to kind of blur the lines with him. And he's going against AJ Styles at the next, I guess at the next pay-per-view, Payback, because Styles won a Fatal 4-Way, the main event, the Raw, the night after WrestleMania, against Cesaro, who returned from injury, Kevin Owens, and Chris Jericho. And so you got to face AJ Styles, unless they turn AJ Styles heel. But I say you have a face versus a guy who's going to get booed most everywhere he goes. So maybe they're kind of okay with letting Roman get booed.
And this would, like I said, be the perfect opportunity, because, you've got other guys waiting in the wings. We've heard of the Bullet Club, per se. I guess that's what they're going to be going by, waiting in the wings, which we know was with AJ Styles. So, if this was the opportunity to make Roman Reigns the heel, to make him Triple H's boy and put him in with the corporation and go against Styles, I could see that as a great feud. You bring in, these other guys, the Bullet Club with AJ Styles, and now we've got something to work with. Triple H is in Roman Reigns' corner versus AJ Styles and these other guys. I could see that as a legitimate main event. I'd be excited about that, because, as long as Triple H is the one pulling the strings, you maybe have Shane O'Mac supporting AJ Styles, or you get the brand split here. But one guy that I wish they would push, and he's so over, and I know he's hurt, but he got the biggest compliment, I think, at WrestleMania, and that was by The Rock, and that is Bray Wyatt. I mean, he was told by The Rock, "You're over. You've got all these, you have all of these fans in the palm of your hand." And he's a great talker. He's very charismatic. He can wrestle. I hope they give him a final opportunity. Maybe you don't have to be a bad guy or a good guy. The lines of being bad guy or good guy are basically blurred and no longer there. It's either you bring yourself. The New Day said it themselves. They took a gimmick, and it was a gimmick, and basically said, let us be ourselves. It worked with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Let us be ourselves. It worked with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Let us be ourselves. And so when you allow that to happen, I think a wrestler can get over better that way. So we're going to have more about our predictions.
We're going to go match by match.
Match by match on our audio podcast.
So check our Facebook page and be looking out for our audio podcast. We know it's been a really long time since we've done a podcast, since last September. We like to get in the habit of doing it more frequently. Russell and I have both been busy, and we both perform and singers. We're both singers, and we were together today, so we wanted to kind of update you guys on that we are still doing the podcast, and we're going to do more of them, and we really enjoy doing them. So thank you so much for watching.
We like to give a shout out to Megan. She helps run our camera.
Camera technician Megan, thank you.
Like I said, we apologize for so long, but I didn't realize when I choke slammed him that it was going to take him that much longer to get back up
It was brutal.
to face me. But the band is back and we're back, and all you need to know is that RKO rocks, and that's RKO. What?
Rocks.
RKO.
Rocks.
RKO.
Rocks.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Take care.